Welcome to my 6-part tutorial series teaching you how to make a platformer game in GameMaker. And this is the last step, the 6th step. Now I might create other tutorials to teach other small things you could add to your game, but this is basically everything you need to get started, and you need to be able to sort of add things as you see fit and sort of learn how to do it yourself. And the last thing we're going to do is add a settings menu to our title screen, because right now the basic mechanics of our game are all complete and the visual effects, everything's done. So all we need to do is add a settings menu button and have a bunch of settings, because I research, I teach about, I publish stuff about accessibility in video games, and so all games that I make I try to have accessible design, or at least accessible settings that we can adjust. And also these are just good things to learn for your own games, like button remapping. So to get started, let's create a settings menu room. But yeah, here we go. Let's create a new room. Call it R settings. First thing we're going to do is set the background color to be correct. So I'm going to go to my title room, click background, click color, and copy the hex code for that color and put it in settings. Your color. There we go. So it's that dark purple. I'm going to set the room size to be the same as everything else, which is 896 by 576. We are going to remember to add a player layer, because that's how we do fade ins and fade outs. We are going to remember to add a glow layer that is at the very top of everything. We're going to set the glow 32 radius, 3 quality, 32, 3, and 0.3. Just so it's the same as the rest of our rooms. Click here again. Go to our creation code, and we got to be sure to add instance create layer 00 player O screen filter, and also add our fade in script. Now we need to duplicate our start button and call this O button settings. Open it up, go to our step event, and we can change this so it's no longer going to our checkpoint room or location, but we can change it so it goes to our settings 00. And in our draw event here, change it from play to settings. We should add it to our title room. Add it to our instances layer. Yeah, that's about right. Run the game, see if we added any bugs. Okay, we have a little settings button right here that takes us to our settings room. Now to get back to the our title room, we need to add another button to take us back. So we're going to duplicate O button settings and call this O button title. Open it up and hit step. Let's see, let me look at my notes here. Yeah, so when we're changing our settings in the game, we want the game to remember those settings, and so we're actually going to have it save the settings as we leave. So right here, we're going to make sure it goes to our title, but right before that, we're going to use our save game script. There we go. And we'll change the text in the draw event to be something like back to title. And open our settings, instances layer, title, put it in there. Let's just see if it works. Settings here. So we do see the screen filter effect and also the glow effect. Back to title. And you see now we have a save file because it saved the settings. Now let's decorate the settings room with a tile set just the same way as we did in the title room. The title room, we added a tile set and decorated a little bit. Now we can do the same thing here. So I'm going to add a tile set, call this tiles, assign the tile set, go to libraries, auto tile, and I can't remember quite how I did it. Move this button down. In my preview game, but I think I did something like this and then had button remapping down here, other settings over here, change the grid to 16 by 16 so we have more fine movement there. And well, we can always add more titles as we like later after we start adding more buttons. So let's start with giving the player options to adjust the difficulty in case the game is too challenging. So we are going to go to our initialize script and declare some new global variables. I'm going to add a comment here called settings and say declare a variable global.invin for invincibility equals false. And now in our oPlayer step event, we're going to go where it is enemies, where it goes to the game over. We're going to say if place meeting bad death, run the death script, but we're also going to add an additional condition and bang global.invin. So this means if invin is ever turned to true, it will not run the death script if we touch something bad in the game. So to test it very simply, all we have to do is go to initialize and just temporarily change this to true and run the game, and there our players should be able to touch enemies and hazards without any concern. Here we go. Yep. Same with enemies. Yep. Change this back to false. And now we're going to duplicate our O button start once again and call this button O button invin for invincibility. In the create event, we're going to add some new variables. Off text equals invincibility /n to create a new line. Off. And then copy this and call this on text invincibility on. Also, if bang global.invin else, so if invincibility is turned off, set text to equal off text. And if it's on, set text to equal on text. In the step event, we're going to remove the fade out code entirely. And in this mouse button check pressed condition, we are going to add another condition. If bang global.invin, so if invincibility is turned off, else, which means if it's already set to true. So if it's turned off, we're going to turn it back on. Global.invin equals true. Text equals on text. Else global.invin equals false. Text equals off text. So it'll switch back and forth. And then in our draw event, we'll change the text from the string to the variable text without quote marks. And now we need to alter our save game and load game scripts to also account for this additional global variable that we want to save. So let's go with our save game script first. We will write ini write real. Instead of writing progress, we'll write settings, comma, call this invin. Oh, sorry, settings, close quote, comma, open quote, invin, global dot invin. And in our load game script, we will write global dot invin equals ini read real settings, comma, invin, comma, false, because the default setting is false. We will add the button to our settings room in the instances layer. Just drag it over, put it here. Run the game. Oh, load game line 10 got semicolon instead of comma or parentheses. So, see, we needed an end parentheses there. Okay, let's go. Clear save data, settings, invincibility off, turn it on, back to title, play. I should be able to touch spikes, escape back out, settings, invincibility off, play. It's working. So now we can toggle invincibility on and off. Now let's go back to that same button, O button invin. In our draw event, we're going to add an explanation to the player about what this button does. So at the very end of the draw event, we will write comment explain text. Draw set H align. Fa left, we want it left align. Draw set V align to be, actually we don't have to change that because it's going to be the same as up here, which is middle. So forgive me. Draw set color, C fuchsia, and draw text underscore x2. Actually, there we go. Underscore x2 plus 16, comma y, comma explain. So as you recall, x2 is the furthest right horizontal end of our button, plus 16 pixels to get our explanation text started, not just so it's flush with the button, but a little bit away. And then it's going to write whatever we write here in our explain variable. We're going to go to the create event and declare our explain variable. Explain equals, turn this on to be invulnerable, /n for a new line, to all enemies and hazards, period, close quote, close, semicolon. So let's run the game, see if we see it. Yep, turn this on to be invulnerable to all enemies and hazards. Let me just add to my notes that we should test that. There we go. Now let's add unlimited air jumps as another way to adjust difficulty. In our initialize script, declare a new global variable, global.airJumps equals false. Duplicate the button we just created, O button invin, and call it O button air jumps. Open that up in the create event, change this off text to be called air jumps. Let's copy that. The explain variable should say something like, delete this, turn this on to be able to jump /n around in the air. Also be sure to change this global variable here, bang global dot invin, you got to change it to bang global dot air jumps. In the step event, change everywhere it says global dot invin to air jumps. So I'm actually going to copy that and just paste it to replace it. Now we should adjust our save game and load game scripts once again. I'm just going to copy this last line, call it air jumps without any space. Change this to air jumps. That's correct. In our load game script, similarly, copy and paste that. Replace this with air jumps, no space. Change this to air jumps. Now we need to make it so it affects the player. Open OPlayer and go to the ground jump section, which is right here in vertical movement region, and wrap all of this stuff in a condition. If bang global dot air jump. So this means if air jumps is turned off, just do the normal jumping. So open curly bracket. And I'm going to go all the way down here after variable jump height. I think after variable jump height, right? No, I think it's just after here. There we go. Yes. ESP jump height. I just want to make sure. Yeah, that looks right. Make sure if key jump. Okay, I think that looks right. Now, if it's not, I can fix it later. So indent all of that. But I think all of this is correct. Let's run the game and see if it works. Oh, but first we need to add the button. Settings, instances, O button, air jumps, run the game. Clear save data, turn air jumps on, play. I knew I did something wrong. Ah, that's what I did wrong. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll edit this out so you don't see me making a mistake. I needed to make an else statement here. Else. There we go. So if it's turned off, do normal jumping. But if it's turned on, do a different type of jumping. If underscore key jump. VSP equals jump height. And then copy and paste this sound effect. Now it should work just fine. Air jumps on. There we go. I go and turn air jumps off. Normal jumping. All right, the third button we're going to add is to trigger the screen effects on and off, and I can already tell I need more space here. So I'm going to give myself more space, and after I add the third button, maybe I'll adjust the tiles there. So in our initialize script, we're going to add another global variable, global.screen effects equals true, because by default, the screen effect should be turned on. And then in our save game script, we will copy this, call it effects, global.screen effects, load game, copy this, call this screen effects, call this effects, set it to true as the default. Now duplicate O button air jumps. O button air jumps we are going to duplicate and call O button effects. In the create event, alter these lines so it says screen effects, change the global variable to say screen, lowercase, screen effects. Change the explanation to be turn this off to disable the /n screen visual effects, period. In the step event, alter this to say screen effects for these global variables. And then also, we're not just going to be changing this to true or false. We also need to adjust those screen effects in the room, because in the settings room, the screen effects are present. So after it says on text, we're also going to write layer set visible glow, it's the name of the layer, comma, global dot screen effects. This means if it gets turned to true, it makes sure to set this visible layer to be visible. It sets it to be true. Similarly, if I copy this, paste it down here, it'll do the same thing. If it turns to false, it will turn this layer off so we don't see it, so it's not visible anymore. Also in our OScreen filter object, we'll change our draw GUI event by wrapping all of it in this condition. If global.screenEffects, meaning if it's true, do all of this. But if it's false, it'll ignore all of this. And lastly, we need to add the function that turns the glow layer on and off to a few places. So let's go to room code first. Room code, let's go here. Layer set visible global dot screen global dot screen effects. So that's our room code, and also we need to take this, copy it, and for our initialize script also, we'll put it down here. And then in our settings creation code, put it there. And the R title creation code, put it there. And now it should work. Let's see. Clear save data, settings. If I go, oh, we need to add the button, silly me. Open our settings, instances layer. Let's center fit this again. It is the O button effects. Put it there. Forgive me, let's try that again. Settings. If I toggle it, it turns it on and off. If I turn it off, it remembers it here. Now it's important in our title, in the R title creation code, that we put this layer set visible after we put the initialize script, because the initialize script will turn it on by default, and this will turn it off if needs be. But now I just want to make sure it's, yep, it's even when we boot up the game again, because it's loading it from a save file, it's turned off, and it's off in our levels as well. If I go back here, oh, if I click clear save data, see, because that's why we put it in the initialize script. Instead of just letting the creation code of our title handle it. Because it's in the initialize script, it resets it here in the title when we delete our save. And let me just make sure my notes are correct. Hold on. I need to adjust one thing in my notes. All right, now to finish off the settings menu, we will add a very simple button remapping system. So we need to set up a bunch of global variables and add them to our save game script and add them to our load game script. And we're just going to go and do all of them in one go. So first, go to initialize. Under settings, we're going to add a new comment called button remapping. Here are all of the global variables you need to declare. Global dot detecting underscore input equals false. Global dot key underscore right equals vk right. Global dot key underscore left equals vk left. Global dot, oh, I accidentally capitalized the k there, lowercase k. Global dot key jump equals vk up. Global dot key attack equals vk space. Global dot key return equals vk escape. Okay, in our save game script, let's add some more of these. I'm just going to copy this most recent one and change this from settings. I'll say inputs. And this will be right. Global dot key right. Now I can copy this and paste it a bunch of times. So this will be left. Global dot key left. This will be jump. Global dot key jump. This will be attack. Global dot key attack. And this will be return. Global dot key return. And now in the load game script, expand this out a bit, copy this. Global dot, let me get this right. Global dot key right. It's not going to be settings, it's going to be inputs. Right, the default value is going to be vk right. Let's copy this, paste it a bunch of times. Key left, left, left. Key jump, jump, and vk space. Attack, attack. Oh, sorry, the key jump is not space, it's up, vk up. There we go. Key jump, inputs, jump, need to capitalize that, jump, and then vk up. There we go. And key attack is going to be vk space, forgive me. And then key return, return, vk escape. Whew. Okay, now we need to change how our OPlayer handles inputs. Go to the inputs region of our OPlayer step event. And instead of putting vk left, we can just write global dot key left. And here we can say global dot key right. Global dot key up. Global dot key up also. Global dot key attack. Oh, and it's not called key up, it's called key jump. Forgive me, this is key jump. Key left, key right, key jump, key attack, and this is global dot key return. And this means we can change these global variables with our button remapping system, and we will not need to alter the code in OPlayer. It'll just work normally. Now, before we do anything, we're going to run the game and make sure that we can still move our character and we haven't added any bugs. So play, I can move, I can attack, jump, and return. So everything's working. I should also make sure load game, yeah, everything's working okay. So we're going to use a script that will able to translate keys like vk space or vk right or vk escape into a string like of text like spacebar or right arrow and the like. But I'm not going to expect you to write that script. It's actually kind of long. You can just copy and paste it from me. In the assets folder that I give you, let me load this up. platformer assets, you will see that one of the assets is an asset called script key check. And you can just open that up. It'll give you a text file, and you just Command A or Control A to select all of it. And you hit Command C or Command C or Control C to copy it. And then you create a new script. Call this script, what do I call it? Key check. There we go. Key check. And actually, the script is fully written out, so you can actually highlight all of this, delete it, and then paste. And it's all here. Yep. Now we have our script. We are going to create a sprite called S button remap. That's going to be a slightly different size than our regular buttons. So create a sprite. Where are you? There we go. Call this S button remap and set the dimensions. So change the canvas size to 128 with a height of 80. 128/80, very good. Also give it a bright color. Oh. And I think we're going to set the origin to be middle center. Yeah, that makes sense. Middle center. Now back to objects. We're going to duplicate O button start and call this O button jump. Open O button jump and change our sprite from S button to S button remap. Now in the create event, we're going to add these variables before we set the hover variable. Text input equals jump, add a colon, and then /n, close quote, semicolon. The reason we're adding line break here is we're going to add the text of our new key underneath it. Text underscore key equals, we're going to use the script we just created, key check, open parentheses, global.key jump, semicolon, text detecting equals press any key, text equals text underscore input plus text underscore key. And lastly, detecting underscore my underscore input equals false. I know that's a lot, but it will make sense in a bit. Go to the draw event and change this play with just the variable text. And in the step event, replace the fade out code. So first remove it. New comment, start detecting input. Detecting my input equals true. Global dot detecting input equals true. And then we're going to add a section at the end of this step event for button remapping. New comment, button remapping. Here we go. If detecting my input, so if it's true, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Hover equals true. Text equals text detecting. New condition, if keyboard underscore key, which is a cool thing in GameMaker, it detects the most recent key press, does not equal 0, meaning a key has been pressed. Open curly bracket, close curly bracket. In fact, I'm going to add a comment here. A key has been pressed. Audio, play, sound, S&D button, hover. 1, false. It's going to play a little sound. Global.key jump equals keyboard key, semicolon. New comment, update key. Text underscore key equals key check, that script we wrote. Open parentheses, global.key jump. Update button text. Text equals text underscore input plus text underscore key, semicolon. Global dot detecting input equals false, semicolon. New comment, let other remapping happen. Detecting my input equals false, semicolon. Comment, end this button's detection. Whew. Now let's add this button to our settings room. Instances layer, the O button, where is it? Where is it? Delete save effects, and then there we go. O button jump. This is going to have a slightly different size, and I'm going to put it like over here. Let's run the game, see if we did anything wrong. Clear save data. Settings says jump is up arrow. I click that. It says press any key. And I'm going to press, instead of up, I'm going to say W. Back to title, play. So when I press the up key, it no longer jumps, but W key does. Clear save data, play. Now the up key works again. Now, I'm sure you notice a problem here. When I click this, it says press any key, and it doesn't really fit here. So let's adjust that slightly. O button jump. Create text detecting. Let's remove the space there and add a /n. See if that looks a little better. Press any key. Yep. There we go. Press any key, and I'm going to add that to my notes. There we go. All right, so now we need to add the other buttons, and it's going to be really easy because we've done O button jump. We can do the remaining 4 buttons rather quickly. Now duplicate O button jump and call this one O button attack. And change the code. We'll start in the create event. We'll change this to be attack, key attack. Go to the create event. Change this to key attack, key attack. And I think that's it for changing things. I'm going to just go ahead and duplicate key attack and call this O button left. Create, and we'll call this left, key left, key left, key left. Duplicate O button left, call it O button right. Create event. Right. Right. Scroll down here. Key right. Key right. Duplicate that and call this O button. Well, we did jump, left, right, attack. So we need return. O button return. Call this one return. Return. Key. Return. Key. Return. Ooh, okay, so let's open our settings and add those buttons. Instances layer, let's do, well, this is jump, right? Let's do left, then right, then jump, then attack, then return. Yeah, that looks good. And now that we know our buttons are here, we can add those tiles. Except this is not even. There we go. Tiles. Can I get away with this being ever so slightly higher? Because I'd like this to go here. But maybe I can't because I need an explanation up there. We'll worry about that later. Let's run the game, see how it looks, and also see how it plays. Left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, spacebar, escape. Now I'm already noticing that right arrow is a little too big for this button, so it's making me think that I need to make the default font just slightly smaller. I can get away with it being a little smaller. Let's change it to 16. That's a little too small. Can I change it to 17? Right. Barely there. You might consider adding a different font than this. In fact, let's do that now. Why not? Let's change the default, our default font to 18, and let's duplicate it and call this F buttons and just change that to 16. And then in our buttons, we just got to change that. So let's go to O button attack, draw event, change this to F buttons. And I'm going to copy that. So it's O button attack, O button jump, O button left, O button return, O button right. See how it works. There we go. So default text is that, but this is just slightly smaller. And I have a 4K screen, and I'm capturing this at 1080p, so you might have a hard time seeing this on the video, but when you put it in your game, this is pretty legible. You can see it pretty easily. Okay, well actually, let's change a bunch of buttons, see if it works. So left, I'll change to A, right, I'll change to D, jump, I'll change to W, attack, I'll change to shift, and return, I'll change to up arrow. Back to title, play. Yep. It's all working. All right, so let's finally add some text explaining the button remapping. We're going to create a new object called oRemapExplain. Add a draw event. Draw set font to be F default. Draw set color to be C underscore fuchsia. Draw set V align to be fa middle. And draw set H align to be fa center. And draw text. We'll just do it in the middle of the room. Room width divided by 2, comma, Y, so wherever we place it. The text, change your control inputs, period. And we can add that to our settings room now. Instances layer, O button remap explain. And I'll move that up and down as needed. Let's see. Okay, I want it a little lower. Try this. Change your control inputs. And I do want something to distinguish things here, just so we know this is a new section of our screen. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I just need to move the buttons slightly. Yeah, that's looking good. Now I just need to move all of these up just a little bit. So in the instances layer, I might need to change the grid here slightly. The grid right now is 16 by 16. Let's change it to 8 by 8. And let's just highlight these and just move them up. Oh, just ever so slightly. Let's see how that looks. I can get away with moving them up a little bit more again. And then just taking this and moving it down just a little. There we go. Everything fits now. We have our inputs. Beautiful. I'm actually going to remove the tiles here. Okay, lastly, we can change the text of our signs. So like in our level 1, we have these signs teaching the player how to play it. And right now it's just hard-coded to say, let's see, open this, to say like, use arrow keys to move and jump. But what if the player changes it so the arrow keys aren't controlling the player anymore? This is very, very easy to do. You just go right here, and where it says text, use arrow keys to move and jump, you can write instead, use space, close quote, plus key check, open parentheses, global dot key underscore right, plus open quotes, space, and space, close quote, plus key check, global dot key left, close parentheses, plus open quote, /n to move, period, close quote, semicolon. So you use these plus signs to string strings together, to link strings together. So, and key check returns a string. So when you run the game, clear settings, and you change this to be A and D, play the game, it says use D and A to move. And we can, in fact, take our checkpoints here. I'm going to, can I duplicate it? Let's see. Can't duplicate it. It's all good. I can add other signs to explain jumping, for instance. So I can add a sign right here. Creation code. Text equals use space. There we go. Key check global dot key jump plus space to jump, period. And then up here for key attack, use, let's just delete that, plus open quote, key check global dot key attack plus to attack. So now if we change all of them to be, say, DA, jump, I'll be W, attack, I'll put it as shift, D and A to move, use W to jump. Let's get up here, use shift to attack. And you are done. That's it for this video and primarily this tutorial series. You have all of the basic knowledge you need to make a platformer, but the real goal here is to help you learn how to build the game you want to make, use these tools to make all sorts of different types of games. And also, hopefully, by learning these different functions, you became less intimidated about finding new functions that you need to use by Googling or reading the GameMaker manual. And hopefully this has made a character control type game a little bit more palatable and accessible to you. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for following this tutorial series.